Another day down in free agency, and Howie Roseman's been busy, bringing back CJ Johnson, which is huge for a couple reasons. Plus more Saquon Barkley reactions, but why could that cost the Eagles draft picks? Oh yeah, and what happened on a QB2 signing that fell through and why that's really important moving forward. As well as an update on the safety search, and the Birds are on the hunt for linebacker. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? So let's start with the Eagles' incredible signing of CJ Johnson, making the reunion official after just 1 year ago, GM Howie Roseman making the mistake not to bring back the 26-year-old safety. But, kudos to Howie because, as he said before, he learned from his mistakes. And even though the Birds weren't able to land Giants safety Xavier McKinney as their number one option, Vic Fangio wanted a safety, so clearly CJGJ was the next pick on that list. By the way, credit to both sides for letting bygones be bygones. Since, CJ had mentioned his distaste for Philly fans and just the people in general. For the record, though, that was after his car was stolen, and I'd probably be a little irritated too.
Hey, are you Dirty Mike and the boys?
Look who hasn't said things in the heat of the moment, especially in an emotional breakup.
We are no longer friends. Why? What do you mean, why?
Alright, I'll admit, even back whenever Thomas and I did our live show to break down the news of CJ leaving, I didn't really care for his comments at all. Yet, like I said, we can put that all behind us. Because Chauncey went and even publicly apologized on Twitter, saying Philly's an amazing place, we had some memories together, and let's go get us one. Seriously though, the personality and intensity are what makes CJ so special and why we need him back. Like, remember when the Niners just shoved us around pregame and there wasn't any backlash? Yeah, well, that doesn't happen with Gardner Johnson, because as we've all seen, this dude brings it. So you can guarantee yourself he's going to show up every day and is also not afraid to lower the boom and make his presence felt, which, let's not forget, also sounds like someone else on the Birds.
I want to be a feared player. That's kind of my mindset going into this. I just play with that intensity every single day. I mean, you're going to connect at some point, and you're going to feel it. My intention isn't to hurt people, but if you're carrying that football, you got it coming for you.
Obviously, Sidney's probably not coming back till October, but can you imagine seeing these two dudes flying around the field with that tenacity? Although one of the best parts about CJ's deal is the contract, with it being a 3-year deal for $27 million with only $10 million in guarantees. So you're paying him to come here and produce, which is fantastic, especially for those saying that CJ's injury prone, and that this is not a good signing because there's no way he stays healthy. I think it's going to be fine, especially due to the contract. Now, the curious part is how Adam Schefter worded his tweet saying the Eagles were signing safety/nickel CJ Johnson. And sure, we know he has the versatility to play both in the slot and at safety. However, it could possibly mean that the Eagles are not set at safety and targeting someone else. Perhaps Justin Simmons, which I definitely wouldn't rule out given the connection with Fangio. Plus, a move like that would allow Reed Blankenship to serve as a solid backup, along with Sidney Brown being able to ease back into the spot coming off of the ACL injury. Curious though, if you had to put a number on it, what would you say the chances are that the Eagles sign Justin Simmons? Maybe not very good, since Derek Gunn tweeted that it doesn't appear the Eagles are in the Justin Simmons sweepstakes any longer, considering the amount of money they've already spent and Simmons' asking price appears to be too high. Okay, well, what about Deshaun Elliott, like Anthony DeBona pointed out? Again, it's another Vic Fangio connection, so it at least makes some sense. Regardless, though, I'm getting even more optimistic about the linebacker acquisition possibility. After Josina Anderson was one of a couple national reporters to share that Philly is on the hunt for linebacker, be it whatever means necessary. And more on that in a second. But quick shout out to Renusin for winning the Saquon Barkley jersey giveaway during the last live stream. And you'll be getting your jersey ASAP, which will also be with the new word mark, as it's now been changed and it's going to take a little bit of time for me to get used to. Which I've got a lot more planned in the future, including giving away multiple tickets to games this season. Oh yeah, I'm also going to give away the neon sign to someone as well. So make sure to hit that sub button because we're almost to 50,000 and we're all in. Unlike Dallas, who is completely not all in, since they're literally the last team in free agency to sign a free agent from another team.
You gotta do something, man. You can't just sit there.
I mean, I'm fine if they don't and just want to kind of mess around and miss out on other free agents like they did with Derrick Henry. Worth noting that it sounds like A.J. Dillon could be in the works, with Jane Slater saying the front office might be cooking up that move. Yet Casey probably had the best response in that area with his AJ isn't them cooking up anything. That's a microwave move because they missed out on all the real food.
Now, Milton, don't be greedy. Let's pass it along and make sure everyone gets a piece.
Okay, but last time I didn't receive a piece. And I was told that
just
I could
pass.
Okay.
Which is why this next question might be better suited for Cowboys fans, but is anything interfering with your happiness or getting in the way of your goals? I mean, that's an easy answer for Dallas. But seriously though, BetterHelp, the sponsor of today's video, can help you get connected with a licensed therapist who is trained to help listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. And I get it, starting therapy can be hard. Plus, the right therapist may not be in your area, and some people find the face-to-face interaction of therapy uncomfortable. Yet with BetterHelp, you can have your therapy sessions as a phone call, video chat, or even text message if you prefer that option. Literally, whatever's the most comfortable version of therapy to you. BetterHelp can match you to one of over 30,000 therapists in their network, which gives you access to a wider range of expertise than may be available in your area. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and then you'll get matched with a therapist in most cases within 48 hours or less, where you'll be able to schedule therapy sessions at a time that's convenient for you. And if the therapist you first match with doesn't feel like the right fit, which can definitely be common when first starting therapy, you can easily switch to a therapist within your network at no additional cost without having to stress about it or anything like that. Come on, people spend hours in the gym every week, so why not give your mind the same kind of attention? There's a reason why over 4 million people have used BetterHelp to start living a happier, healthier life. So if you think you might benefit from therapy, consider BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/thephilly special. Not only does clicking that link help support the channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. Thankfully, we have a GM who actually understands how to get things done, especially when your offensive coordinator is asking you for Saquon Barkley, which according to James Palmer was exactly what Kellen Moore did, imploring Howie Roseman to go after the former Giant, specifically seeing how he'd fit with his scheme and maximize the potential of this offense.
Give me. I need.
Okay, obviously it's not hard to say that Barkley makes any team better, but I think it's just another sign to say they're going for it. Heck, you got the coordinators you wanted, so make sure to load up with all the guys they need to be successful, which left guard Landon Dickerson was a fan of as well.
Obviously, extremely excited to add a talented guy like that to the roster. Again, I've said this, I think, for the past 3 years, but, every team has a 1-year expiration on it. And, bringing in a guy like Saquon, I think for us is, adding to the amount of talent that we have. And, I'm really excited to see what he does.
It's not surprising if you're a running back to pick the Eagles, but like Penn State's head coach James Franklin shared, Howie's sales pitch locked in number 26.
To come back and be able to play within the state, in Philadelphia, he said that was one of the first things that Howie said to him on the phone as part of kind of his sales pitch to him, was not only the Philadelphia Eagles and that, but obviously the connection with Penn State and the fan bases as well.
Whatever it took to get him here. Okay, no, in all seriousness, that's a bad thing, because if that's true, it's illegal, and that would end up costing the Birds draft picks, since teams are not allowed to talk directly to players during the negotiating window unless the player represents himself. For the record, Saquon does not, but Howie knows this, which is why the Eagles denied the tampering allegations, saying they went through the appropriate channels, so the NFL may end up investigating this, although no official decision yet, but either way, I'm still regretting Franklin's choice of words. Speaking of that regret, maybe Jason Kelce's regretting his decision to where he'll end up coming back.
And I'm happy for Saquon. I'm not trying to talk trash. You're coming to a team that has had a legitimate offensive line established for a very long time.
Yeah.
Coming to a coach who's been there for a long time, and they've had proven success with nearly every running back. So Saquon is entering a good situation in Philadelphia. Social media has been nonstop saying, Jason, you sure you want to retire? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty positive, even though a little bit upset how he waited till I retired to make a move like this, but it's fine. It'll work out great.
The skill set in Philly, the skill positions in Philly.
It's pretty good. We got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert.
You have Pro Bowlers at every starter.
It's crazy.
Every starter on, really not even
Howie
the skill.
Season, baby.
Every starter on that Philly offense is a Pro Bowler. Every single one of them.
I could not be more bullish. We talked about last week. This is what I'm regretting. I knew when I retired that I was going to miss just an outstanding season for the Philadelphia Eagles, and it sucks. It really does. I want to be a part of this so bad. I wish I could, but it doesn't suck in the way that I get to still like, hey, I'm a Philadelphian. I get to watch it and celebrate it just like everybody else. So I'm excited for that.
Okay, he's probably not coming back, or at least for a full season he's not coming back. However, is it possible that he stays in football shape enough to where, let's say, middle of the season, you need a last-second push or add him for some depth, or, even come back and start if we have injuries? Knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but probably very unlikely. What do you guys think, though? Are these moves slightly changing Kelce's mind about coming back? Getting back to the contract, though, Howie is unsurprisingly performing another masterclass, with Barkley's 3-year contract being worth $37.5 million and $25.5 million guaranteed. But upon further review, it's effectively a 2-year deal with the option to get out in 2026. And like Bill Colarulo brought up, the cap hits this season for Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley total just $36 million. Compare that to nearly $60 million for Dak Prescott and $47 million for Daniel Jones. It never ceases to amaze me of Howie Roseman's ability to perform accounting magic, which is probably more impressive than even Landon Dickerson's lawn care skills, as the left guard signed a 4-year, $87 million extension saying the first thing he's going to buy is a zero-turn lawnmower, and then proceeded to take to social media to say, "Y'all thought I was playing about the lawn? I take pride in my stripes." But he definitely earned that contract, ranking as the best left guard in terms of average time to pressure in the NFL last season. Another dude who got a 4-year extension was Jake Elliott, as the Eagles made him tied with Justin Tucker for the highest paid kicker in the league. And like, is anyone really going to argue that this dude deserves that? I'm biased, sure, but Jake the Make is definitely very deserving. Oh, also, Anthony DeBona reminded that even though he did get a bag here, this extension actually potentially saves or frees up $1.9 million this season. But while we're on the topic of signings, the Eagles also officially signed offensive lineman Matt Hennessy to a 1-year deal, which if you're not familiar with Hennessy, he was a 3rd-round pick in 2020 out of Temple and has 22 starts under his belt, but missed all of 2023 with a knee injury and some of 2022 as well. Again, clearly just a depth signing, but he's played at both guard and center, so helps with Kelce leaving and Juergens becoming the full-time center. Plus, as we all know, offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland loves his athletes in the trenches, and the 26-year-old had a very strong score in that category before he was drafted, with Pro Football Network sharing his closest comp in that category is Isaac Seumalo, so makes a good bit of sense from a couple different sides. The move that didn't make as much sense was Philly signing wide receiver Devontae Parker from the Patriots. Now sure, at least his $4.6 million guaranteed is mostly being paid by New England, considering the Eagles are only on the hook for $1.2 million, but like Warren Sharp pointed out, Parker has amazingly been the worst receiver in the league in terms of average separation created each year for the last 4 years. I mean, you'd think one of these seasons he could have at least finished ahead of one guy. I don't know, he's a former first-round pick, but he hasn't gotten a 1,000-yard season since 2019 in Miami. Plus, he's mainly played outside, so I don't really see him being a major impact. And honestly, taking a look at the Birds' options for receiver, I could see a couple different guys ultimately beating him out anyway. Yet at least it didn't cost you that much, and you can see maybe how it turns out. I should also briefly mention the Eagles officially committed to their punter, locking up Braden Mann for 2 years, and not surprisingly brought back Rick Lovato for another season as long snapper. But one player we've parted with is Marcus Mariota, as the Commanders brought him in for $6 million on a 1-year deal and reunited with Brian Johnson.
I don't know if I can answer that question for you. I don't know if I can answer that question.
Good luck to him. I mean, it's kind of strange that they brought him in, especially because you have Sam Howell. I guess maybe you're going to trade him there, but it's an interesting move. I don't know. However, I didn't really care for Mariota to come back anyway, although I'm completely out on the continued speculation that Justin Fields to Philly is a legit chance, with multiple reports continuing to float the idea out there. But come on, I mean, why would you want Fields? Remember, as the great John Madden once said, if you have 2 quarterbacks, then you really have none.
I don't want you to feel like I'm babysitting you or something.
Of course, there's always a counter argument to that, because had we not had Big Nick, we wouldn't have a Super Bowl right now. Although, like we all know, Justin Fields ain't Nick Foles. But I get the point being made about going ultra rushing attack focused if Jalen ever went down. Still, sorry, I'm not interested. Because this dude basically had 3 straight years of 60% completion and not sure about the work ethic or the drive to get better. And yeah, Chicago hasn't given him the best pieces to succeed, but given the attitude and questionable leadership at times,
felt like I was kind of robotic and, you know, not playing like myself. So, my goal this week is just to, say F it and just go out there and, play football how I know how to play football. And that's not, that includes thinking less and just going out there and, playing off of instincts rather than just so much, so to say, info in my head, data in my head, and literally just going out there playing football.
You say thinking less. What do you think was causing you to think so much, maybe think too much?
Could be, coaching, I think. But, at the end of the day, it makes it, they're doing their job when they're giving me, what to look at and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I, can't be thinking about that when the game comes. I prepare myself throughout the week, and then when the game comes, it's, it's time to play free at that point.
It wouldn't be too surprising to see the Eagles just stick with Tanner McKee as the option for QB2. However, they don't seem totally locked in on McKee since Rob Motti reported the Birds actually had an offer out there for Joe Flacco. Yet the comeback player of the year decided to go to Indy instead of Philly. So with that being the case, perhaps you look at a reunion with Easton Stick since the former Charger was just with Kellen Moore. And I get that we're interested in a linebacker, but let's not discredit the importance of QB2. What would your preference be? Now fine, we can get into linebacker, with multiple league sources sharing how he has been calling nonstop about various options alongside Nakobe Dean. Now, it wouldn't be too crazy to see Zach Cunningham come back for another season for cheap, and he's fine for a backup, but that starter role next to Nakobe Dean is crucial. Yes, for the sake of the argument, I'm saying Dean is set because Howie loves him and he's publicly said that multiple times. Okay, hear me out. I hope Nakobe does well, but if you're looking to add a free agent next to him, who's it going to be? I think a very realistic option is former Dolphins linebacker Jerome Baker, who's actually meeting with Tennessee Thursday, but had 78 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 2 interceptions in 13 games last season. Plus, he has the connection with Fangio. Or the short-term vet route I would have liked was Bobby Wagner, but now he's with the Commanders, who seem to continually be loading the clip. Obviously, that's just a few names, but what do y'all think? Given the remaining options, who would you prefer, or should Howie Roseman just go out and trade for someone? And if you did a trade, who are some of the targets that you think are a possibility and interesting? Shout out to Greg Richards for throwing out a couple names like Jets CJ Mosley since he's in the last year of his contract, and even though he's 31, he's definitely still impressed with the highest coverage grade among linebackers last season. Or there's also Foye Oluokun as another player in the last year of his contract, although like Greg said, it's hard to say if those teams would actually end up being trades or if those teams decide to just part ways via cut. And I think if you're going to go with them for the Eagles, it's probably more likely they'd have to be cut just considering the cap ramifications and everything else. Or the more likely route, it feels like anyway, is you just go the draft route. You could take an Edgerrin Cooper, who I love. Junior Colson from Michigan is also another name I like. Or if you want a later round acquisition, then possibly a Cedric Gray from North Carolina. Either way, it's worth keeping an eye on potential trade packages, especially given the fact that Josh Sweat will likely be moved soon. And even posted to Instagram that he's going to miss everyone, so come on, I mean, clearly something's in the works. But it's also very possible to see Haason Reddick get moved too, whether that's now or even wait until the draft and package him to move up and select a player. Now, if we did that, ultimately I would prefer to move up and select a guy like a Quinton Mitchell, which is not really a surprise for anyone following the channel. However, maybe that's not the route they go, as Ryan Fowler reported Michigan's Zach Zinter has a top 30 visit in Philly, with him clearly being one of the premier guards in the class. Another top 30 visit is Christian Mahogany from Boston College, as well as Kansas State's Cooper Beebe, which I believe puts us at 4 or 5 interior offensive linemen scheduled to visit Philly so far. Anyway, reminder, talking about the draft, we're going to be live during the draft with plenty of giveaways, also live mock drafts coming up soon. And as always, we will go live as soon as Howie Roseman gets his linebacker or whatever else position it is. This has been the Philly Special.